Good evening. Thank you for joining us for another virtual town hall. Today is Wednesday, July 8th. We have so much to share with you today. But before we get into it, I want to share the numbers on the COVID-19 cases in Ohio and in the county. As of today, we're at 60,181 cases in the state with 287 cases in the county. Now, I'm also sad to report that we have one positive case in the village. This is after almost 5 weeks of 0 cases. So we're sad that we have another case, but I guess the good news is that we were able to cut the spread of the infection in our community, and we had 0 cases for what's almost 5 weeks. Tonight, I am delighted to announce that council met today and had a very fruitful, long conversation about face coverings. And joining me tonight to do an overview of what's ahead for us is Council Member Lisa Krieger.
As you all know, we've been spending a lot of time listening to the community and considering the challenges, pros and cons of mandating masks downtown through law. And I'm join many of you in being very concerned about the trends and the increases in cases. And really our goal in Yellow Springs is to keep our community safe and really set the standard of what a small community with active community members can achieve. And so on last Monday night, we had a very long council meeting, a lot of which was dedicated to discussing new laws to improve the safety of downtown Yellow Springs by passing some kind of ordinances that build on the resolution that was passed on June 15th to urge masks downtown. And although that was like a formal statement, it had no enforcement provisions. And so today, in a special emergency meeting, the council passed 2 new laws to improve safety in Yellow Springs. Both of these laws were unanimous, so all council members voted in favor of them. Both of them are 100% focused on increasing compliance of mask wearing in Yellow Springs. It's not about like punishing and getting people involved with expensive tickets or anything like that. It's really just about improving safety in the midst of a continued growth of new cases of coronavirus in the communities around us and in our area. So the first one I want to summarize is that we passed a new law requiring that facial coverings be worn downtown and on village-owned property when physical distance of 6 feet is not possible. And this law is in place as long as the state of emergency is in effect. So what this means is when you're downtown, you must wear a mask when inside any indoor public place when physical distancing of 6 feet is not possible. Anytime you're waiting in line to enter an indoor public space, and anytime you're outdoors, as in on the sidewalk in Yellow Springs or walking around anywhere downtown in a public place where physical distancing is not possible. So what that means is, for example, if you're going through a walk through town and it's 6 in the morning and there's nobody in town, obviously you're capable of physical distancing. But a general rule of thumb, when there are people downtown, we know what it's like on the weekends, even sometimes at peak times, wear a mask, put a mask on in Yellow Springs. So the second measure, I should say though, there are certain exemptions. I mean, we're following these exemptions from facial coverings. That includes people who are under age 10, those with a medical or mental health condition, athletes in certain sports activities that are physically distanced, if you're riding a bicycle through town or driving a car. And at this point, if you're eating at a restaurant, if you're eating at a restaurant, then you can continue to follow the same restrictions that you've been following up to this point. The second ordinance has to do with vendors and buskers. So there are certain vendors that are selling things downtown and buskers that are performing. And we also voted unanimously that vendors and buskers in the downtown central business district and parking lots and food truck operators have to follow certain safety precautions. So for both of these, there are a series of escalating fines in place. For vendors and buskers, the ultimate penalty is a revocation of their permit. For people downtown, again, I really want to focus that we're focused on increasing compliance. And so there is an escalating levels of enforcement, verbal warnings, written warnings, there's community service opportunities, and eventually some financial impact. And I'm really grateful to, so many people who have done the work related to this. So we know that Mayor Pam is going to have an impact in Mayor's Court. We know that Chief Carlson and his team are going to have challenges with enforcement. We know that Josue and his team are going to have the opportunity to help our buskers to be successful by identifying places where they might be physically distanced safely with like an X and a circle around them so they can continue to seek this kind of job. So we're not trying to penalize any individuals. We're trying to help everyone be successful and at the same time be certain that we're protecting the health of everybody in our community. I also want to thank our new village legal counsel, whose name is Brianne Parcels. She has just begun working with us, and it was amazing and so impressive to me to see the amount of work that she was able to contribute from last Monday until today, and on today's meeting, to offer so much guidance, including state guidance, legal guidance, CDC level guidance, and integrate those into our new laws. So we are truly setting the standard. So, and also really grateful to all of my fellow council members who, have been putting in a lot of hours as we consider this really challenging and important new laws in Yellow Springs. I want you all to know that I know that wearing a mask is not comfortable and it's not pleasant, and our lives are so disrupted. And I'm so grateful to the really active community input that we've heard that really led us to know that the community spoke and we responded. And I think it's in addition to the great things that we're doing in terms of mask ambassadors, trying to really say, look, put your mask on, let us help you be successful. Let us help you be successful at implementing this and making our community a very, very safe place to be for everyone who lives here. So I can't say that I'm glad about this because my heart is so heavy with what our community and our country and our world continue to face in this pandemic. And I truly believe as a clinician that we're only at the beginning. So we are going to have to stay together on this. And I think this is a really, really important step that our community has taken. So thank you to everybody who made this possible. And, now the work begins. And in that spirit, I want to hand off to Chief Brian Carlson to talk a little bit about what these new laws look like in action. Thanks.
Thank you, Lisa, and welcome everyone tonight. This has been, a 48 hours of much dialogue, much concern, much thought, and I'm proud to be part of, a progressive movement. I think we're a little bit ahead in every step since this pandemic started. I also believe that the village is already more compliant than the places that I visit in our surrounding areas. I spoke with Melissa from the Public Health Department. She came through town recently and talked about how she noticed a difference in the compliance with masks and such. I also feel that the public coming forward and voicing their opinions and concerns is extremely important. That's our citizen body. Those are our taxpayers, and we are here to help in any way we can. This is a public safety issue. I think if the vaccine doesn't come about within the next few months, we will see what we're doing nationally. Without politics and an argument, it will just be so. We had seatbelt laws that were added. They are now commonplace, and people realize the importance of seatbelts. We had cigarette and smoking in public laws that were enacted, and people are smoking indoors now just doesn't happen. So I know this is a little different because it's personal, but from the police standpoint, Yellow Springs Police Department, there are some guidelines within the ordinances that I'm waiting for the final revised document, but we will respond to all complaints. Complaints that are done anonymously will fall lower on the list. I believe there's language in the ordinance where if some type of citation is given, that the caller, if it's a citizen, will be willing to testify should it come to that. And proprietors, city leaders, call us. Our mission is not to come and punish people. It's to come and educate people to wear masks. And that's what we will do. Our department is resolution oriented, which is one of the village guidelines, and we will respond appropriately with that concept in mind every time. So, please don't hesitate to call us for any reason. The one suggestion that I'd like to make and remind citizens and my fellow people in Yellow Springs is, don't take this on yourself to criticize or go on, the offensive, because then we'll have two issues that we're dealing with, de-escalating the human-to-human situation and trying to get this person to wear a mask. So just keep that in mind, because I think the few people that we may encounter where we do have some type of incident, if you will, they're looking for that anyway. And the best way is not to engage. So did I leave anything out? Josue, did you want me to add anything else? Lisa, was there anything that you would like me to add?
No, I think that's really helpful, although I think Brian Hausch may have some comments to add, not sure.
Absolutely. Thanks, everyone.
Okay. Thank you.
Thanks, Lisa. Thanks, Chief. I actually, you guys covered a lot, but maybe a few things that I just will emphasize related to your comments. So I think the first one is just the common sense aspect of this initiative. So I want to reiterate what Lisa, Marianne, others have said. And actually, I've imparted this from my conversations with the governor is just, we just want you to wear your mask when you're around other people. So I guess, I don't want to lose the focus of this doesn't have to be a big deal. There are a lot of nuances in how we enforce this, but in terms of the behavior that we expect in town, it's pretty straightforward. Second thing I wanted to mention is just highlighting, I guess, what was important to me, and I think other council members, as far as why the ordinances were 5-0 votes. And that was the fact that we made the penalties civil infractions so that we're not like creating criminal records for folks. And this kind of ties into several of the things that Chief talked about and how our peace officers will approach this. But I think it's important to keep in mind that different folks that don't want to wear masks will have different, I guess, sticks that will motivate them, which I think Mayor Pam Canine understands, and fines, which we want to keep low, are not the focus here. And I think that's why the community service aspect is also important here, and something that, you know, I just want to make sure that everyone knows we are trying to align our enforcement approach with our village values while making sure that we improve the safety of our community. Third thing I wanted to mention is, well, actually, I kind of already said it, but the plan is that everything runs through Mayor's Court. And we have so much love and trust and faith in our mayor that I know she's going to do the right thing and figure out like what the right approaches are for anyone that might be cited. But ultimately, that shouldn't happen. I mean, we're seeing great compliance. We're going to continue the ambassador initiative. I guess I realized I get to put down my phone because all these things segued. You know, we've decided the volunteers that were out last weekend are interested. Other people are interested. So we're going to keep on doing the things that are proactive and making a difference, and educating folks along those lines. So ultimately, you know, I just, we've continued to emphasize that all aspects of our village team and the justice system are key to making sure we actually see the great results that we saw last weekend. And I'll stop.
Thank you so much, Brian, and Chief Carlson. And also joining us is Mayor Pam. Mayor?
Thank you very much, everyone who's already spoken. Over the last 3 or 4 weeks, I've been watching very carefully downtown as I would walk or bike or on occasion drive through town, keeping a very careful eye on the number of mask wearers, and that number was definitely going up during the last month, to the point where this past weekend, when I was one of our mask ambassadors, it was amazing the number of folks who were actually already wearing their masks. I would have cited it at 90 to 95%, depending on the time of day, of course, that you were down there, which angle you had on the streets and so forth. I've been very pleased with the way things are going, and I've long contended that the difference between the resolution that we had and the ordinance or the legal citations that we may be able to provide that many in the community wanted, the difference was not that much. Yes, the ordinance provided teeth, the ordinance provides some sort of enforcement, the ordinance provide a legal framework for dealing with those who are not going along with wearing the mask, which, at the risk of redundancy, we know by now that those are effective in blocking viral transmissions through various means. This morning when I woke up we ran out and got my Dayton Daily and came back with this. As most of us are aware, the face masks in Montgomery County are a must because our governor has pinpointed the 7 different counties that are now heading into the hotter zone, the 4 zones that we have. Some of them are now in Zone 3. And to the west of us lies such a county. So we need to be very careful in our approach to what we're doing health-wise here in Yellow Springs. And as with most states, the governor is the person who's making the decision as to whether it's going to be a statewide mask ordinance, mandate, executive order from the governor, or is it going to be passed down to the local authorities? And what's happening about half of our states at this point, the governors have instituted mask bans. However, the enforcement is going to be left up to the local communities. And this is what we've been dealing with here in Yellow Springs. How are we going to enforce? Are we going to enforce legally, or are we going to keep up with the ambassador program, et cetera? This is what we've been wrestling with. We know that there's a very vocal element that wanted the mask ordinance. We also know, because we hear from these people, that there was probably an equal amount, not as vocal, who just wanted things to remain the way they were. They felt things were working. And let's not get into the enforcement issues that will come along with having an ordinance. At the end of the day, however, based on what happened this morning and behind the scenes for the last few days and the ever-changing issues going on at the state level, notice I'm not saying national, that's a whole different story. At the state level on down, where we are doing what we feel is best for our local community. At the end of the day, after today, we do indeed have an ordinance and mandatory mask wearing. We're just shaking out the details on what this is going to look like. But I just want to say in my closing here that I was extremely impressed with what I witnessed today during today's emergency council meeting. From our council people, all 5 of them, through our police chief, who we are so fortunate to have, to village manager Josue, council clerk Judy guided us through the sausage making of how we had to put all the threads together, and our new village solicitor Brianne. She's a legal ledger as far as knowledge base that she will bring to our village. So I was extremely impressed with the team that I saw today. And they were able to work out their differences, for those of you who were able to see and watch what happened today. So I'm very impressed going forward. There's a few details to work out as far as enforcement protocol and so forth. But I truly look forward to helping guide our village through the cases that may or may not come to the mayor's court and what needs to happen there. So the horizon looks good. Things look good out there on the horizon for what we're doing here in Yellow Springs. And I want to thank the community members too for sticking with us through this process, allowing us time to think and process behind the scenes as should be done in a democratic process. So enough about that as we continue. I do have one other thank you tonight that I want to give in public in this venue, and that is a thank you to Patty Bates, our former village manager. Patty is one of our NBCs, our neighborhood block contacts, and Patty has been taking notes on our town hall since the get-go. And she publishes them afterwards to a listserv that includes all the other NBCs and sundry other people who are interested in reading what goes on at these town halls. So to Patty, I want to say thank you. I also want to announce, and I assume it's okay to announce because she just announced it to 45 people in a prior email, that Patty and her husband are building a home out of town and will be leaving by the end of the year. So she'll be handing off her note-taking skills to someone else, but she will be doing this through up until Labor Day. So Patty, thank you for doing this. Thank you for everything you've given to our village. And I'll now turn this back over to Josue.
Thank you so much. Sorry about that. We're having technical issues with sound over here. Thank you, Mayor Pam. We appreciate all your comments and also thank Patty Bates for what she's been doing for the Neighborhood Contact Program. I know she's been an incredible resource to me and with follow-ups and recent changes and challenges we had recently. So appreciate that, and we're gonna miss you. I wanna go back to some of the things that we said early on. Given the technical issues we had with the sound, we missed a couple of the statements. I want to remind our viewers, one, that today is Wednesday, July 8th. That was missed in the video feed earlier. And I also want to do a recap of our numbers here in Ohio. We're looking at 60,181 cases with 287 cases in the county. I'm also sad to report that we now have one case in the village. And this is after going on almost 5 weeks of 0 cases in the village. So I think it is very timely what council has accomplished today after a very fruitful conversation. And if you missed it, there's 2 hours and 30 minutes of it, and there's a recording of it. So you're welcome to visit our website and view that. I think it's been one of our more exciting conversations. I think because there are some differences, and seeing the talent at the table and everyone's willingness to get to a solution, get to a yes at the table. And both ordinances were passed unanimously. All 5 individuals agreed that this is the right thing to do, and we're gonna do it now. And so we're doing it now. So with that, I wanna thank you all for all that you've done, our residents, for staying the course and advocating for the things that need to be done, and for our council members to finding a solution that works for everyone. So thank you. And with that, I'll open the floor for questions. All right. Doesn't look like we have any questions on Facebook or Zoom. So with that, I think we'll close the virtual town hall. Brian, I'm sorry to disappoint. I didn't beat your efficiency last week, but I think it was to cover.
We got pretty close, man. So yeah, I think the hallmark may be like limited questions. So hey, this was great.
Well, I think that we've done such a thorough job on answering the concerns, meeting the need for a mask mandatory requirement of face covering requirements in the community, and the right mix of tools to encourage people to wear the mask, be resolution focused, and if we can't get those things done, there's a penalty to encourage folks to wear masks. So with that, thank you, and I want to wish you a good night.
OH.
Oh.
IO.
I-O.
See?
All right.
Thanks, everyone.
All right. Thank you. Have a good night.